The officers' lounge on the Galactic Council station was quiet that evening. Only a few commanders sat around the tables, drinking and talking about their latest missions. Commander Vexra of the Crithian Empire sat at the center table, her four eyes gleaming under the soft lights. She was a veteran warrior, proud and strong. Her chitinous armor bore the marks of countless battles across the galaxy. Tonight, the conversation turned to humanity. The newest species to join the Galactic Coalition. Vexra found the topic amusing. "Did you hear the latest story?" asked Subcommander Retok, a younger Crithian officer. The humans claim one of their soldiers held a defensive position for 6 hours against 40 Skrull raiders. They say he used only primitive weapons. Vexra's mandibles clicked loudly. It was the Crithian way of laughing. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I have fought the Skrull. They are brutal and efficient. One soldier? With kinetic weapons? The story is obviously a lie. Other officers around the table nodded. Some looked doubtful but said nothing. They had all heard similar tales about human warriors. Stories that seemed too incredible to be true. "But Commander," Retok said carefully, "the battle logs were verified by Coalition oversight. The records show—" "Retok, records can be changed," Vexra interrupted, waving one of her four arms dismissively. "Data can be manipulated. I have served in the military for 3 decades. I have fought on 17 different worlds. I know what warriors can do and cannot do. These humans are weak." She leaned forward, her voice growing louder. "Look at them. They have no natural armor. No claws. No venomous spines. They cannot even see in multiple light spectrums. They are slow compared to most species. They tire easily. Their bones break under pressure that would barely bruise a Crithian. How can such creatures be warriors?" In the corner of the lounge, Lieutenant HFY sat quietly. She was the human liaison officer assigned to the station. She wore the standard Coalition uniform, her dark hair pulled back in a simple style. Her face showed no emotion as she listened to Vexra's speech. HFY had been on the station for 2 months. In that time, she had learned that arguing with officers like Vexra was pointless. The Crithian commander believed what she wanted to believe. Words would not change her mind. Only reality could do that. "The humans claim this Lieutenant Taeyang is a hero," Vexra continued. "They say he saved an entire colony. That he fought without rest. Without fear. Without breaking. Such things are the stuff of children's stories, not military reports." Another officer, a reptilian Salvax, spoke up. "I served briefly with human soldiers during a training exercise. They seemed adequate. Disciplined. At least, discipline means nothing without strength," Vexra said. She took a long drink from her cup. "Any species can learn to follow orders. But when the shooting starts, when the enemy charges, when death comes rushing toward you, that is when you see what a species is truly made of. I predict humans will run. They will break. They will prove themselves unworthy of Coalition membership." Vexra's gaze suddenly fixed on HFY. The human had not spoken a single word all evening. This annoyed the Crithian commander. She liked when others argued with her. It gave her a chance to demonstrate her superiority. "You there, Lieutenant HFY," Vexra called across the lounge. "You are very quiet tonight. Do you not wish to defend your species? Do you not want to tell us more impressive stories about human courage?" "All?" HFY looked up calmly. She met Vexra's 4 eyes with her too. There was no anger in her expression, no fear, just a quiet patience that somehow irritated Vexra even more than an argument would have. "With respect, Commander," HFY said in a level voice, "I have found that demonstrations speak louder than stories. Perhaps one day you will have the opportunity to see human soldiers in action. Then you can judge for yourself." The lounge filled with the sounds of alien laughter. Vexra's mandibles spread wide in what her species considered a smile. It was not a friendly expression. "I look forward to it, Lieutenant," Vexra said. "I truly do." When your warriors flee at the first sign of real danger, I will be sure to record it for the Coalition archives. Future generations should know the truth about humanity's supposed military prowess. HFY simply nodded and returned to her drink. She did not argue. She did not defend. She just sat quietly, waiting. This only made Vexra more certain that she was right. The human had no defense because there was no defense. The stories were lies, and the lieutenant knew it. Retok, the younger Krithian officer, looked uncomfortable. He had read the reports more carefully than his commander. The details in those reports troubled him, but he was too junior to argue with Vexra. So he kept silent. As the evening wore on, the conversation moved to other topics. Military politics, resource allocations, upcoming missions. But Vexra kept glancing at the human in the corner. HFY sat alone, looking at a datapad, seemingly unconcerned with everything that had been said about her species. That quiet confidence bothered Vexra more than she wanted to admit. It was the confidence of someone who knew something you did not. The confidence of someone who had already won an argument you did not know you were having. When HFY finally left the lounge, Vexra watched her go. The human walked with a steady, measured pace. Not hurrying. Not slouching. Just moving with purpose. Humans. Vexra muttered to herself. They will learn their place soon enough. But somewhere deep in her mind, in a place she did not like to acknowledge, a small voice asked a question. What if the stories were true? What if she was wrong? Vexra pushed the thought away immediately. She had not survived 3 decades of warfare by doubting herself. She knew what she knew. Humans were weak. They were unproven. They were barely qualified to serve as support staff, let alone frontline fighters. The galaxy would teach them humility, and Vexra would be there to watch when it happened. She drained her cup and stood to leave. Tomorrow, she would receive her new mission assignment. Another deployment to another world. More combat. More glory for the Krithian Empire. She had no idea that her next mission would change everything she believed about warriors, about strength, and about humanity. In her quarters, HFY sent a brief message to Earth Command. Still meeting resistance from senior coalition officers, maintaining diplomatic protocols, awaiting opportunity for demonstration. The reply came quickly. Understood. Stand by. Opportunity will present itself. HFY smiled slightly and prepared for sleep. She had patience. Humans were good at waiting. They had learned that skill over thousands of years of hunting, of surviving, of enduring. Let the galaxy think what it wanted. The truth would reveal itself soon enough. 2 weeks passed before Vexra's mockery came back to haunt her. She stood in her private quarters aboard the Coalition cruiser Infinite Dawn, staring at the holographic message from her superior. The words glowed in the air before her, and she read them 3 times, hoping she had misunderstood. She had not. This is unacceptable, Vexra said aloud, though no one else was in the room. Admiral Thexnor cannot be serious, but he was serious. Her new assignment required her to lead a joint peacekeeping mission to the mining world of Keros 7. The planet was contested territory, plagued by Vorash pirates who raided the mining operations and killed workers. It should have been a straightforward mission for Vexra's experienced soldiers, except for one detail. She would be working with a human special operations unit. Vexra immediately opened a communication channel to her superior. Admiral Thexnor's scaled face appeared in the hologram. He looked tired, as always. Politics within the Galactic Council never let him rest. Admiral, I must protest this assignment, Vexra said without preamble. My soldiers are the best in the Krithian military. We do not need assistance from unproven humans. In fact, their presence will likely endanger the mission. Thexnor's expression did not change. The Galactic Council has made its decision. Commander. The humans specifically requested this joint operation. They wish to prove their worth to the Coalition. You will comply with this order. But Admiral, enough? Commander. Thexnor's voice grew firm. Your personal opinions about humanity are noted. They are also irrelevant. You are a soldier. You have your orders. Execute them. That is all. The communication ended. Vexera stood alone in her quarters, her mandibles clicking in frustration. She had no choice. Orders were orders, but she silently vowed to keep the humans far from any real fighting. Better they survive to embarrass themselves another day than die under her command. The briefing took place in the ship's main tactical center. Vexera arrived early, reviewing the mission parameters. Karos 7 was a rocky world with mountain ranges and deep canyons. The Vorash pirates used the terrain to hide and strike at mining operations. Intelligence suggested about 50 pirates. Possibly more. They had energy weapons and personal shields, standard equipment for any serious military force. When the humans arrived, Vexera studied them carefully. There were 6 of them. All wore heavy armor that looked primitive compared to Coalition standards. Their weapons were clearly kinetic, using chemical propellants to fire solid projectiles. No plasma, no energy weapons, nothing modern. The leader stepped forward and saluted. Captain Dong-hyun. Commander. Special Operations Unit 7. We're ready for your briefing. Dong-hyun was shorter than Vexera but built solidly. His movements were economical, wasting no energy. His eyes were calm and alert at the same time. Something about him reminded Vexera of veteran soldiers she had known. But that was impossible. Humans had barely been in space for 40 years. Captain, Vexera acknowledged. I have reviewed your equipment manifest. I must ask, why do you refuse to use modern weapons? Plasma rifles would be far more effective than your kinetic firearms. Our equipment suits our combat doctrine, Commander, Dong-hyun replied evenly. It has proven effective in our operations. Vexera's mandibles clicked skeptically. Effective against whom? Primitive enemies on your home world? The Vorash pirates we face on Karos 7 have centuries of combat experience. They possess energy shields that will stop your bullets like raindrops. A lean woman standing beside Dong-hyun spoke up. She wore the rank insignia of a sergeant. Commander. With respect, kinetic weapons have certain advantages in specific tactical situations. Our armor-piercing rounds can penetrate. I do not need tactical lessons from a species that only achieved faster-than-light travel 4 decades ago, Vexera interrupted sharply. You will follow my orders, exactly as I give them. Any deviation, and I will have your entire unit removed from this mission and sent back to Earth in disgrace. Is that understood? The woman, her name tag read Sergeant Yuna, kept her face neutral. Understood, Commander. Good. Vexera turned to the tactical display. Now, here is how we will conduct this operation. My 30 Krithian soldiers will form the primary assault force. We will clear the mining facility and push the Vorash into the mountains. Your human unit will remain at the main supply depot. You will guard our equipment and provide communications support. These are support roles. Simple tasks that even inexperienced soldiers can handle. Captain Dong-hyun studied the tactical map. His eyes traced the terrain, the planned routes, the defensive positions. Commander, what about reconnaissance? We should scout the mountain approaches before committing forces. That has already been arranged, Vexera said. Drone surveillance will provide all necessary intelligence. Drones can be jammed or shot down, Dong-hyun noted. Ground reconnaissance would, Captain. I have been conducting military operations since before you were born, Vexera said coldly. I know how to plan a mission. You will follow orders, not question them. Your role is support. Nothing more. Do I make myself clear? For a moment, Dong-hyun held her gaze. Vexera saw no fear in his eyes. No anger either. Just a quiet assessment, as if he were measuring her and finding her wanting. Then he nodded. Crystal clear, Commander. We'll follow your orders. The briefing continued for another hour. Vexera explained the assault plan in detail. Her soldiers would advance through the main canyon that led to the Vorash hideouts. Superior firepower and training would overwhelm the pirates quickly. The mission would be complete within 2 days. The humans listened without comment. They took notes. They studied the maps. But they did not argue anymore. When the briefing ended, the human unit filed out of the tactical center. Vexra watched them go. They moved with discipline. She had to admit that much. Their formation was tight. Their awareness of each other seemed almost instinctive, but discipline without strength was meaningless. Later that evening, Ritak approached Vexra in the ship's command center. "Commander, a word in private?" They moved to a side chamber. Ritak looked uncomfortable, which was unusual for the normally confident young officer. "Speak," Vexra ordered. "Commander, I have been reviewing human military history," Ritak said carefully. "Their species has an unusual record. They have been fighting wars continuously for their entire recorded history. 10,000 years of constant conflict. So? Many species have violent histories. Yes. But most species developed past such violence once they achieved space travel. Humans did not. They simply redirected their warfare skills toward new enemies." Ritak pulled up data on his pad. In the 40 years since they joined the coalition, humans have participated in 14 military actions. They have never lost a single engagement. Vexra waved dismissively. "Against minor threats. Pirates. Raiders. Nothing serious." "Perhaps," Ritak said. "But Commander, what if the stories are true? What if we are underestimating them?" "Impossible," Vexra stated firmly. "I have examined their physiology. They are weak. They are slow. They lack natural defenses. These facts cannot be disputed." "Yes, Commander." Ritak bowed and left. But alone in the command center, Vexra found herself thinking about Ritak's words. 10,000 years of warfare. Never lost an engagement. She pushed the thoughts away. Statistics could be misleading. Performance against weak enemies proved nothing. Tomorrow they would land on Keros 7. Her soldiers would do the real fighting. The humans would stay safe in the rear. And this ridiculous joint operation would end quickly. In their quarters, the 6 human operators prepared their equipment. Captain Dong-hyun checked his rifle for the 10th time. Sergeant Yuna sharpened her knife with practiced movements. The others performed their own rituals, each lost in thought. "Captain thinks the commander is wrong," one of them said quietly. "About the mission plan, Captain thinks a lot of things," Yuna replied. "Doesn't matter. We follow orders until we don't. And when do we stop following orders?" Yuna looked up, her eyes hard. "When our brothers and sisters are dying because someone's pride got in the way of good tactics. Then we do what we do best, which is win." 3 days on Keros, 7 passed without incident. The joint force secured the main mining facility easily. The Vorash pirates retreated into the mountain ranges. Just as Vexra predicted, everything was going according to plan. Vexra felt vindicated. This mission would prove how unnecessary the human presence truly was. On the evening of the 3rd day, she gathered her commanders for a final briefing. The holographic map showed the canyon system where the Vorash were hiding. It was a narrow passage between 2 high cliff walls, leading deeper into the mountains. "Tomorrow we end this," Vexra announced. "My forces will advance through the main canyon at dawn. We will overwhelm the Vorash with superior numbers and firepower. They cannot stand against us." Captain Dong-hyun studied the map intently. His face showed concern. Commander, I recommend caution. That canyon is a natural kill zone. The Vorash will have the high ground. Limited visibility. No room to maneuver if things go wrong." Vexra's mandibles clicked impatiently. "Captain, the Vorash lack the numbers to mount a significant ambush. Our intelligence estimates 50 pirates at most. We have 30 trained soldiers with energy shields and plasma weapons. The tactical advantage is clearly ours." "Then let my unit take point," Dong-hyun suggested. "We specialize in hostile terrain operations. We can scout ahead and deprive my soldiers of their chance for glory?" Vexra interrupted. "No, Captain. You will remain at the supply depot as ordered. Guard our equipment. Monitor communications. Stay out of the way. These are your tasks. Donghyun's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Yes, Commander. After the briefing ended, Sergeant Yuna pulled Donghyun aside. They stood outside the command tent, looking toward the dark mountains. The twin moons of Keros 7 cast strange shadows across the rocky ground. Something's wrong, Yuna said quietly. I can feel it. Donghyun nodded slowly. The Vorash wouldn't retreat to a canyon unless they had a reason. They're planning something. Should we push harder? Refuse the orders? We can't. Not without evidence. Donghyun looked at his sergeant. But make sure the unit is on ready standby. Full combat load. If something happens tomorrow, we need to be prepared to move fast. How fast? Faster than should be possible. That night, Specialist Ki-woon checked and rechecked his demolition equipment. Specialist Bo-mi tested her communications gear 3 times. Operator Sung-jin organized his medical supplies and combat ammunition side by side. They all knew something was coming. They had learned to trust their instincts. Dawn came cold and red. Vexra led her 30 Krithian soldiers into the canyon with confidence. Their energy shields glowed faintly in the morning light. Their plasma weapons hummed with readiness. They moved in a tight formation, professional and disciplined. The canyon walls rose 50 meters on either side. The path forward was about 20 meters wide, enough room for the soldiers to spread out, but not enough for complex maneuvering. Vexra noticed these details but dismissed them. The Vorash were cowards. They would run when faced with real warriors. Halfway through the canyon, Ritak spoke over the communication channel. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures on the cliff tops. Should we? The world exploded into fire. Plasma bolts rained down from above like a deadly storm. Not from 50 pirates. From over 200. The Vorash had reinforced their position and waited patiently for the perfect moment to spring their trap. Vexra's shields overloaded in seconds. A plasma bolt seared across her shoulder, burning through her armor. She screamed and dove behind a boulder. Around her, her soldiers were falling. The canyon had become a death trap. Fall back! All units fall back! Vexra shouted into her communicator. But there was nowhere to go. The Vorash had sealed both ends of the canyon with heavy weapons fire. The Krithian soldiers were trapped. Completely surrounded. Completely outgunned. Ritak, get us support. Call the ship. Call anyone! Vexra pressed herself against the rock as another volley of plasma fire tore through the air where she had been standing. Communications are jammed, Commander. Ritak's voice was panicked. I can't reach the ship. Vexra watched 2 more of her soldiers fall. Their shields failed. Their armor melted. They died screaming. She had led them into this. Her pride, her arrogance, her certainty that she knew better than everyone else. She was going to die here. They were all going to die here. Then a voice came through on a different channel. A human voice. Calm. Steady. Impossible. Commander Vexra. This is Captain Donghyun. We are monitoring your situation through our independent communications network. Request permission to provide support. Vexra's pride warred with her survival instinct. Survival 1. Permission granted. But you are 5 kilometers away. You will never reach us in time. We are already moving. Hold your position. Help arrives in 3 minutes. 3 minutes? How could they cover 5 kilometers in 3 minutes? It was impossible. But Vexra had no other options. She passed the word to her surviving soldiers. Hold on. Help was coming. She did not really believe it. She pressed against the boulder and counted the seconds. Her soldiers were dying. 1 every 30 seconds now. The Vorash were descending from the cliffs. Moving in for close combat, she could see their red armor through the haze of plasma fire. In 90 seconds, maybe less, they would be overrun. 60 seconds passed. 70 seconds. 80 seconds. Then Vexra heard a sound she would remember for the rest of her life. A sharp, rapid cracking sound. Mechanical, rhythmic, unlike any weapon she knew. Crack, 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 crack. The nearest Vorash pirate's head snapped backward violently. His shield had done nothing. He fell like a puppet with cut strings. Crack, crack, crack. 3 more pirates dropped in rapid succession. Each shot was precise. Each shot was lethal. Each shot came from impossible range. Vexra turned and saw something that shattered her understanding of infantry warfare. 6 humans had covered 5 kilometers in under 3 minutes. They were positioned on the canyon rim, having climbed the sheer cliff faces with nothing but rope and determination. Captain Dong Hyun was directing fire with calm efficiency. Sergeant Yuna lay prone on a rocky outcrop, her rifle singing its deadly song. Target center mass, 800 meters. Yuna's voice was perfectly calm over the command channel. Firing. Crack. Another Vorash fell. The kinetic round punched straight through his energy shield, as if it were paper. Specialist Kiwoon moved along the ridge with frightening speed. His armor and equipment would have crushed a Krithian soldier. But he ran with it like it weighed nothing. He stopped at a strategic point, aimed a tube-like weapon, and fired. The rocket screamed across the canyon. When it struck the Vorash command position, the explosion was brutal and absolute. 15 pirates simply ceased to exist. The shockwave echoed between the canyon walls like thunder. Vexra stared in shock. These were the weak humans? These were the unproven warriors she had mocked? Captain Dong Hyun descended into the canyon using a rapid rope technique. He hit the ground running, his weapon already firing. A Vorash pirate charged him with an energy blade, confident in close combat. Dong Hyun sidestepped the strike with minimal movement, brought his rifle up, and fired point blank. The kinetic round went through the pirate's shield, through his armor, through his body, and out the back. Commander Vexra, Dong Hyun's voice was steady despite the chaos. Recommend your forces fall back to secondary position Delta. We will cover your withdrawal. We are 30 soldiers, Vexra protested. You are only 6. Ma'am, with respect, we are aware of the numbers. Now move your people. We have work to do. Vexra gave the order. Her surviving soldiers, barely 20, now retreated under covering fire from the humans. And what covering fire it was! The 6 operators did not just hold the line. They pushed forward. They advanced into the teeth of the enemy. Sergeant Yuna's rifle never stopped. Crack, crack, crack. Each shot found a target. Specialist Bomi called fire missions while simultaneously providing tactical updates. Operator Sung Jin somehow managed to treat wounded Krithian soldiers while firing his weapon with his other hand. The humans moved through the battlefield like they owned it. They used every piece of cover. They exploited every weakness in the Vorash formation. They maintained perfect fire discipline even when surrounded. Vexra watched in awe as Dong Hyun coordinated his tiny team against an enemy that outnumbered them 30-1. He was everywhere, calling targets, adjusting positions, encouraging his soldiers, fighting with absolute precision. The battle lasted 20 more minutes. When it ended, 70 Vorash lay dead in the canyon. The rest had fled in terror. 6 humans stood among the carnage. Their armor was scorched and dented. Their weapons were hot from constant firing. But every single one of them was still standing, still fighting, still ready. Vexra limped toward Captain Dong Hyun. Her pride was gone. Her arrogance was shattered. All that remained was wonder. How? She whispered. Captain Dong Hyun looked at Commander Vexra with those calm eyes. His face showed no triumph, no pride, just the steady focus of someone who had done their job and was ready to do more if needed. How is what possible, Commander? He asked. All of this. Vexra gestured weakly at the battlefield around them. Her shoulder burned where the plasma bolt had struck. You covered 5 kilometers in under 3 minutes. You climbed sheer cliffs. You fought 200 enemies with only 6 soldiers. You used primitive weapons against energy shields and won. How is any of this possible? Dong Hyun knelt beside her. He signaled to Operator Sung Jin, who came running with medical equipment. Commander, you are injured. Let us treat you first. Then we can talk about tactics. Sung Jin worked quickly on Vexra's shoulder. His hands were gentle, but efficient. He cleaned the burn, applied medical gel, and wrapped it with advanced bandages, all while his rifle lay within easy reach. Even now, even while helping, he was ready to fight again if needed. "Thank you," Vexra said to Sungjin. The human nodded and moved to help the wounded Krithian soldiers scattered around the canyon. Donghyun sat on a rock beside Vexra. He pulled out a water container and took a long drink. He offered it to her. She took it gratefully. The water was cool and clean. "You asked how this is possible," Donghyun said finally. "The answer is not simple, Commander. But I will try to explain. Actor. 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 Actor." Vexra listened carefully. Around them, the other human operators were securing the area, checking the fallen Vorash for survivors, and helping the wounded Krithians. They moved with the same calm efficiency as their captain. Like this was just another day at work. "First, the distance," Donghyun continued. 5 kilometers in 3 minutes seems impossible. It is not. Humans are endurance runners. Our ancestors hunted prey by chasing it until it collapsed from exhaustion, sometimes for days. We can push our bodies past what seems like our limits. When we need to move fast, we can move very fast indeed. But the equipment, Vexra protested. The weight alone. We train with this weight every day. Our bodies adapt. What seems heavy to other species is normal for us. Donghyun tapped his armor. "This weighs 40 kilograms. I have been wearing armor like this since I was 18 years old. That was 12 years ago. It feels like part of my body now." Vexra tried to imagine wearing 40 kilograms of armor every day for 12 years. She could not. Even Krithian soldiers, who were naturally strong, would struggle with such a burden over time. "The cliff climbing?" she asked. "Rope techniques, training, practice. We started learning this in basic training. Then we practiced for years." Donghyun smiled slightly. "Humans are very good at climbing. Our ancestors climbed trees to escape predators. That ability is still in our genes." Sergeant Yuna approached, her rifle slung across her back. "Captain, area is secure. No enemy contacts. Casualties are being treated." Thank you, Sergeant." Donghyun looked at Vexra. "You mentioned our weapons. You called them primitive." "They are primitive," Vexra said, though her voice held less certainty now. "Kinetic weapons. Chemical propellants. Ancient technology." "Ancient? Yes. Primitive? No." Donghyun pulled his rifle around and showed it to Vexra. "This weapon has been refined over hundreds of years. The principles are old, but the execution is very advanced. This barrel is manufactured to tolerances measured in micrometers. The ammunition is engineered for specific ballistic performance. The scope can calculate wind, distance, temperature, and planetary rotation automatically." He pointed to a Vorash body nearby. "Energy shields are designed to stop energy weapons. Plasma, lasers, particle beams. They are very good at this. But kinetic rounds?" He shook his head. "Shields have trouble with solid mass traveling at high velocity. The physics are different. Our bullets punch through shields that would stop plasma bolts easily." Vexra felt something like understanding beginning to form in her mind. "So you use old weapons because they work better against modern defenses?" "Partially. But there is more." Donghyun's expression grew serious. "Commander, you have advanced technology. Energy weapons that never run out of ammunition, medical devices that can heal almost any wound, shields that protect from most attacks. These are wonderful tools. But," Vexra prompted, "but they make you dependent. Your soldiers trust their shields. When shields fail, they panic. Your plasma weapons need power cells. When power fails, your soldiers are helpless. You have forgotten how to fight when technology fails." Donghyun patted his rifle. "This weapon is simple. If something breaks, I can fix it with basic tools. The ammunition is chemical. It works anywhere, in any condition. I never trust my life to something I cannot maintain myself. Sergeant Yuna added, we train to fight when everything goes wrong, when communications fail, when equipment breaks, when we are outnumbered and surrounded. We prepare for the worst possible situations. Then we practice until those situations become manageable. Vexra thought about her own training. She had trained extensively, of course, but always with the assumption that her equipment would work, that her shields would protect her, that her communications would function. What would she do if all of that failed? She did not know. She had never considered it. You also asked about the fighting itself, Donghyun continued. How 6 soldiers defeated 200. The answer is combined arms tactics, superior positioning, and psychological warfare. Explain, Vexra commanded, then caught herself. Please explain. Donghyun smiled at her politeness. We took the high ground. From elevated positions, we could see the entire battlefield. The enemy could not hide from us. Sergeant Yuna is our best marksman. She eliminated high-value targets officers, heavy weapons operators, communication specialists. This created chaos in their command structure. Specialist Ki-woon hit their command post with a rocket, Yuna added. 15 pirates died instantly. More importantly, their leadership was eliminated. The remaining pirates had no coordination. No orders. Just panic. We also moved constantly, Donghyun said. The enemy thought they were fighting 20 soldiers. Not 6. We used the terrain. We used smoke and dust from explosions. We made them afraid. Fear is a powerful weapon. Vexra absorbed this information. It was so different from how Krithian soldiers fought. Her species valued direct confrontation, strength against strength. The idea of using psychology and deception seemed almost dishonorable. But it worked. That was undeniable. There is one more thing, Donghyun said quietly. The most important thing. You asked why we use kinetic weapons. Why we still use old tactics. Why we train so hard. The real answer is this: humans understand warfare in a way that many species have forgotten. What do you mean? War is not about technology, Commander. It is about will. It is about who refuses to break when breaking would be easier. It is about who keeps fighting when everything says to give up. Donghyun's eyes held an intensity that made Vexra uncomfortable. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Predators, disease, weather, other humans. We survived by being too stubborn to die. That trait is still in us. We do not quit. Ever. Vexra looked into his eyes and saw something that chilled her. Not cruelty. Not hatred. Just an absolute, unshakable determination. This was not a soldier pretending to be brave. This was a predator who had evolved to never stop hunting. The stories, she said softly. The tales about Lieutenant Taeyang holding off 40 raiders for 6 hours. They were true, were they not? Every word, Sergeant Yuna confirmed. If anything, most stories do not capture the full truth. Taeyang was wounded 3 times during that battle. He kept fighting. He ran out of ammunition twice. He fought with his knife. He fought with his hands. He refused to let the enemy pass. That is what humans do. We endure. Specialist Ki-woon joined them, his equipment now restocked and ready. Commander Vexra, we should move soon. More Vorash might return with reinforcements. Agreed, Donghyun said. He stood and offered Vexra his hand. She took it, letting him help her to her feet. His grip was strong but not crushing. Respectful, Captain, Vexra said. I owe you and your soldiers an apology. I mocked your species. I dismissed your capabilities. I nearly caused the deaths of my own soldiers because of my arrogance. You are not the first, Commander, Donghyun replied simply. You probably will not be the last. We understand. We are new to the galactic community. We look weak compared to other species. We have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. Just determination. Just determination, Vexra repeated. She looked around at the battlefield. 70 dead Vorash. 20 surviving Krithian soldiers. 6 humans standing calmly among the carnage. I am beginning to understand that determination might be the most dangerous weapon of all. End quote. It is, Yuna said. Because weapons can be taken away. Shields can fail. Equipment can break. But determination? That comes from inside. That cannot be taken. That cannot fail. As long as we are alive, we can fight. They began the long march back to the supply depot. Vexra walked beside Captain Donghyun, thinking about everything she had learned. Her worldview had been shattered and rebuilt in the space of 1 hour. She would never see humans the same way again. She would never see warfare the same way again. And somewhere deep inside, she felt a strange emotion. Not shame, exactly. More like respect, honest, hard-earned respect for warriors who had proven themselves in the only way that truly mattered in battle, against impossible odds, without breaking. 2 days later, Commander Vexara stood on the observation deck of the coalition cruiser Infinite Dawn. Her shoulder was healing well, thanks to Operator Sung Jin's quick treatment. Below her, through the massive window, the planet Karos 7 grew smaller as the ship prepared for faster-than-light travel. The mission was over. Classified as a success, though that word felt hollow. 10 of her soldiers had died in the canyon. 10 warriors who had trusted her leadership, 10 deaths that could have been prevented if she had listened. If she had been less arrogant, if she had valued wisdom over pride. The door to the observation deck opened. Captain Donghyun entered, carrying 2 drinks. He offered one to Vexra, a Crithian nutritive solution. Perfectly prepared. The other was human water in a standard container. I thought you might appreciate some company, Donghyun said. Vexra accepted the drink with a gesture of thanks. Captain, I owe you more than an apology. I owe you the lives of 20 soldiers. My soldiers. They would all be dead if not for your unit. Donghyun took a sip of his water. You do not owe me anything, Commander. We were following orders. Protecting coalition forces. That is our job. But I made your job harder. I refused to listen to your advice. I put my soldiers in danger because of my prejudice. Vexra's mandibles clicked softly, a sign of deep regret. How do you tolerate it? The constant dismissal from other species. The mockery. The assumption that humans are weak. Donghyun was quiet for a moment, looking out at the stars. Because we understand something important. Words are just wind. Commander. They mean nothing. Only actions matter. Only results count. Let others talk while we do the work. That is a patient philosophy. Patience is something humans learned over many thousands of years. We were not always the dominant species on our planet. For most of our history, we were prey. Other animals hunted us. We survived by being smart, being patient, and never giving up. Those lessons are deep in our nature now. Vexra thought about this. Her own species, the Crithians, had been apex predators from the beginning. They had never known what it meant to be hunted, to be weak, to have to survive through determination rather than strength. Perhaps that was why they did not understand humans. They had never needed to develop that particular kind of toughness. Captain, may I ask you a personal question? Of course. Your species. You are predators, correct? True predators. Donghyun nodded slowly. Every intelligent species evolved from predators in some way. Commander. But yes, humans are pursuit predators. We evolved to hunt prey by chasing it until it could not run anymore. Sometimes, for days across open ground, our prey would run faster. It would be stronger. But we would just keep following, keep tracking, never stop. Eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion. Then, we would move in for the kill. Vexra felt her blood chill at the image. And that instinct is still in you. Yes, that refusal to quit, that ability to push past pain, past exhaustion, past what should be our breaking point. It is genetic memory millions of years old. Donghyun turned to look at her. That is what you saw in the canyon, not superhuman ability. Just humans being what we evolved to be, creatures that do not know how to stop. The other species in the coalition do not understand this yet. They will, Dong-hyun said simply. Give them time. Or give them a war. Nothing teaches like survival. When the next great threat comes, and it will come, the galaxy will learn what humans can do. What we are willing to do. What we refuse to stop doing until the job is finished. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Vexra found herself appreciating the captain's company. He did not judge her for her mistakes. He did not gloat over his victory. He simply existed, calm and centered, ready for whatever came next. Lieutenant Tae-yang, Vexra said suddenly. The soldier who held the position for 6 hours. I mocked his story in front of Lieutenant Hai-won. I called it a lie. I would like to apologize to him as well. Dong-hyun smiled slightly. Tae-yang is already on his next assignment. But I will pass along your message. He will appreciate it. He is a humble man. He does not think of himself as a hero. What is his assignment? Training mission. He is teaching Krithian Special Forces human combat techniques. Dong-hyun's smile widened. Your High Command requested it specifically after reviewing our performance on Karos 7. They want their soldiers to learn our methods. Vexra's mandibles spread in genuine pleasure. That is good. That is very good. Perhaps I should attend some of those training sessions myself. Vexra's mandibles. You would be welcome anytime, Commander. Tae-yang would be honored to train you. I have much to learn, Vexra admitted. I thought I understood warfare. After 3 decades of service, I believed I knew everything important. But you have shown me that I was wrong. There are different kinds of strength. Different ways to fight. I was blind to this. Dong-hyun finished his water. We are all blind to something, Commander. The key is being willing to see when someone opens your eyes. You could have rejected the lesson. You could have blamed us for your casualties. You could have written a report claiming we disobeyed orders. But you did not. You accepted the truth. That takes courage. Or humility. Courage and humility are often the same thing. The observation deck door opened again. Lieutenant Hae-won entered, saw them together, and paused. I apologize. I did not mean to interrupt. You are not interrupting, Vexra said quickly. Please, join us, Lieutenant. Hae-won approached slowly. She looked between Vexra and Dong-hyun, reading the situation. The mission report has been filed, Commander. The Galactic Council has classified the operation as a significant success. Thanks to Captain Dong-hyun and his unit, Vexra said firmly. Make sure that is noted in all official records. The humans saved us. That truth must be documented. Hae-won nodded. It has been noted, Commander, very clearly. Vexra turned to the human liaison. Lieutenant Hae-won, I must apologize to you as well. That night in the officers' lounge, I mocked your species in front of everyone. I called the stories of human warriors lies. I insulted your honor. I was wrong. Completely, absolutely wrong. I ask your forgiveness. Hae-won was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. And it was a warm, genuine expression. Commander, you have nothing to apologize for. You spoke from ignorance, not malice. Now you know better. That is all that matters. You knew, Vexra said suddenly. That night, when I was mocking humans, you knew the truth. You knew what your soldiers could do. But you said nothing. You just waited. I told you that demonstrations speak louder than stories, Hae-won replied. I knew that eventually, you would see for yourself. Words would not have convinced you. Only reality could do that. Tensed, you were very patient. We learned patience from hunting, Commander. Sometimes the best strategy is to wait for the perfect moment. Hae-won looked out at the stars. The galaxy will learn about humanity in time. Each mission, each operation, each demonstration, slowly but surely, the truth will spread. We do not need to shout about our abilities. We just need to do the work. Down in the ship's medical bay, Operator Sung Jin finished treating the last wounded Krithian soldier. The young private looked up at him, with all four eyes wide. "Human, I must ask you something," the private said hesitantly. "What is it? Why did you come back for us? In the canyon, you could have stayed safe. But you came into the battle. You risked your lives. Why? We had been dismissive of your species. We did not respect you. Why save us?" Sung Jin checked the soldier's vital signs one more time. Everything looked good. The wounds would heal. "We have a saying on Earth. Leave no one behind. It does not say, leave no human behind. It just says, no one. That includes you. That includes everyone who fights beside us." The private's 3 hearts beat faster, but this time from gratitude rather than fear. "Thank you. Truly. Thank you. Just get better," Sungjin said with a smile. "And maybe next time, listen when someone suggests a different tactical approach." The private's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. 3 weeks later, Commander Vexra submitted her official report to the Galactic Council. She kept it brief and direct, in military style. But she made one recommendation very clear: humanity's probationary status should be elevated immediately. They are not merely suitable for coalition membership. They are essential. When the next existential threat emerges, and it will, we will need warriors who know how to stand when standing seems impossible. We will need soldiers who refuse to break under any circumstances. We will need humans. I recommend full coalition membership with immediate effect. The council reviewed the report. They examined the battle recordings. They read the testimony from surviving soldiers. They analyzed the tactical breakdown of how 6 humans defeated 200 pirates. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was granted full coalition membership. Lieutenant Haewon received a private message from Commander Vexra 3 days after the vote. It read, "You were right. Demonstrations do speak louder than stories. Thank you for your patience with a foolish old warrior. If you are ever near Crithian space, please visit. I would be honored to call you friend." Haewon smiled and saved the message. Then she returned to her work, preparing for the next assignment, the next mission, the next inevitable moment when someone would need to learn what humanity was truly capable of, because there would always be a next time. The galaxy was large, and humanity was still new. More species would doubt. More commanders would dismiss. More voices would mock the idea that these soft, slow, unarmored creatures could be warriors. And every time, humans would do what they had always done. They would show up. They would do the work. They would endure. They would refuse to break. They would win, not through superior technology, not through natural weapons, not through anything except the one advantage that could never be taken away: the absolute refusal to quit. On Earth, in a military academy, young soldiers learned about the Battle of Keros 7. They studied the tactics. They analyzed the decisions. They learned the names of the 6 operators who had turned the tide. But more importantly, they learned the lesson. The lesson that Commander Vexra had learned. The lesson that the galaxy was slowly learning. Strength comes in many forms. Technology is useful but not essential. Natural weapons are helpful but not required. What matters, what truly matters, is the will to continue when continuing seems impossible. Humans had that will. They had been born with it, shaped by millions of years on a planet that tried to kill them every single day. They had refined it through 10,000 years of warfare. They had carried it with them to the stars, and they would never let it go, because that was what made them human. That was what made them dangerous. That was what made them, in the end, survivors. The galaxy was learning this truth, one battle at a time, one demonstration at a time, one impossible victory at a time, and humanity was patient enough to let the lessons sink in naturally. After all, they had learned patience from millions of years of pursuit hunting. They knew how to wait. They knew how to endure. They knew how to outlast any prey, any enemy, any challenge. Time, they knew, was on their side. It always had been. It always would be. The galaxy would understand eventually. And when it did, Humanity would be ready to stand beside or in front of every other species, doing what they did best: surviving, fighting, enduring, never quitting, ever.